Welcome to part 1 of Competency 4. In this competency, the teacher uses patterns to model and solve problems and formulate conjectures. This competency is part of Domain 2 still and is 33% of your test. In this video, we will work with arithmetic sequences. Okay, recall what an arithmetic sequence is. It's a list of numbers that has a common difference between each consecutive number. Okay, and then we have a formula that we can work with. We have a couple of forms of that formula. We could alter it more if we want to, but not for our purposes. We need to put it in the calculator in this particular form. Now, also, you need to remember for some of these questions to put your calculator in sequence mode. And we'll look at that in just a moment. Number 1, what is the 90th term of the sequence 2, 6, 10, and 14? Okay. If you remember prior, we had a formula that we can use, which was A1 plus our common difference and minus 1. This is a form anyway that we're going to use for our purposes right now. Before we begin, we must go to mode and arrow down to function. You can use your right or left arrows. I'm going to use the left, and that highlights SEQ sequence. That's what I want, so I push enter. Now go straight to Y equals, and let's clear out anything that's in there. Okay. Now we know that we have, I'm going to build this a little different, by the way, but we know we have 2 as our beginning. So let's say 2 plus. Now I'm not just going to put in 4. You can see the common difference is 4. Instead, I'm going to use the first 2 values. I could actually use other values if you think about it. But let's open our parentheses and say 6 minus 2, okay? And then open the parentheses. Now I'm going to push our x, our normal, what would be x. Now it's n because we're in the right mode. Now minus 1, close our parentheses. Now, the reason I would use this particular form is to alleviate mistakes, okay? Now, before I push anything else, I'm going to go straight to the 90th x before I look at my table or my graph. Be careful going to table and graph first. You may clog up your calculator's memory, okay? It happens every now and again to me on both the computer and my handheld. All right, so let's go second window. Now I need to go to number 90 first, 90. Now, and sometimes I push enter to make myself feel better. You don't have to. Now let's do our second graph to get our table. Bam, right to the value we need, which is D. Okay, so now let's push graph. And I have it on the zoomed in window. So let's go zoom 6, back out. As you can see, those are our proper beginning values that we needed. Number 2, what is the 25th term of the sequence 15, 13 and 2/3, 12 and 1/3, and 11? Okay, for this question, we are going to do this a little differently. Okay, so first we need to go second mode, and we need to actually subtract these two. Okay, so we can get a good fraction. I'll say, okay, so alpha y equals number 2 and 13, 2 go down to 3, arrow all the way over and minus 15. And push enter. Of course, you could have done that in your head, and I'm sure a lot of us already saw that, but that's going to be our D, and I have a reason for doing this because it's going to be a little different than before, okay? So remember, we are in the sequence mode. All right, I'm going to back out of that, and let's say second stat, Arrow over to Ops, and we need number 5. So push number 5. This is where we're going to enter our expression that we would have created just like number 1. Okay, so clear this out. And our first term is 15. Then, oh, not plus, we need minus. Minus. Now, here's the thing. You can't use your fraction creator, you can't use alpha y equals, it's not going to work here. So just say 4 divided by 3. Okay, that's why I did what I did when I got our common difference. So then open your parentheses, push your x, which will give you your n, and minus 1 in parentheses. Okay, so now we've created what we want. And we're going to enter that, go down, push your X again because we have it in that correct mode. You don't want to leave that X there. All right. It'll gunk up the works because we're not using X in this particular situation. Okay. Now, what do we want? We want the 25th term. So what you need to do is put 25 as your start and 25 as your enter. And just for safety's sake, I'm thinking we should go in terms of 1 divided by 3. And I say that because of this 4/3. I'm trying to be safe. It could be a whole number, but it may not because you're looking at your A, B, C, D options. Okay. All right. Now let's enter again and again. Okay. Now we're going to have to enter one more time. And the answer is negative 17. So that is A. Okay. Now let's go to numbers 3 and 4. Number 3, in a certain arithmetic sequence, the first term is negative 23 and the 19th term is 5.8. What is the value of the common difference? Okay, because they're asking for the common difference, we're going to have to do this differently. We're going to have to use a different app, which will be or app or function or whatever you want to call it. We're going to have to use our solver. So we need to go to our mode, go down to our function, highlight it to back us out of sequence and into the function that we always use, okay? Kind of like our default. All right, let's go second mode, go back. Now, what we need to do is set up. So what we have is we know the value of the 19th term, okay? So that's 5.8. Okay, and what is that equal to? The first term, which is our negative 23, minus, oh no, sorry, plus our common difference that we don't know, but we do know our n. Our n is 19, then minus 1. Okay? So because we're not in a sequence or something different, we're going to have to say that D equals X, okay? All right, for this situation. All right, so let's go math, arrow up, press enter, clear this out, and put your 5.8, enter, clear everything out, and then let's use negative 23 plus X, parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and type it in. I know we can see it's 18, but let's say 19 minus 1 and close parentheses. I like to enter things exactly the way I've written them down. In case I've done something strange, I can double check what I've done versus doing it all in my head. Okay, let's push our graph. Remember, you have to push twice because an old answer will be in there the first go round or just 0. Okay, so let's push graph. As you see, 10 is still in there from before. Push it again, and that's the value we're looking for, 1.6, option D. So that's our common difference, okay? Now, let's look at number 4. And number 4, we're still going to use solver. Well, we're going to have to find our difference in a different manner, okay? In a certain aromatic sequence, the seventh term is 43. Ooh, that's different. And the 22nd term is 31. What is the value of the first term, which is your ace of 1? Okay, so this is what we need to do. I like to do a quick table. Okay, I put n here, I put y here. All right, so what do we have? My nth, the first one is 7, and then we have 43. Then the next one is 22, and then we have 31. So what we need to do is y over n, okay, if you can remember that, or just think it out logically, y over n will give us our difference, okay? Just think about it in a logical way. So from our 22 minus 7, that is going to be 15. And then 43, or we can go backwards really is what we should be doing, is saying 31 minus 43 is minus 12. All right, and let's double check that. Okay, let me go ahead and write this out. That will be negative 12 over 15. But let's double check that. And let's go second mode. And I'm just going to clear everything out so we can see it fresh. What we need, it's like, just like your point slope, or we're trying to find the difference. So it's your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And in this case, it's n. So let me just show you by saying alpha y equals my number 1. This is what we're doing. We're doing 31 minus 43, arrow down. Okay, that's our y. It's the y over the n's. And then we need 22 minus 7. Now let's push enter. And that is going to reduce to 4 over 5. So we know what our D is, okay? So, but that's not our first term. So A, I would say A's out, that they're trying to trick you, okay? But we're going to go ahead and use our solver, okay? So let me build that for us. Okay, we don't know what A is, but let's go with this term right here. So I'm going to highlight this. We're going to use this one, okay, the starting one. Okay, so we know the value of our A of 7, our seventh term. So we're going to say that that's 43 equals. Now we don't know what the first term is. Oops, not D, A, ace of 1. We don't know the ace of 1, and we're going to say plus. We know what our D is, which is actually minus 4 over 5, okay? And then we know what our n value actually is. Our n is 7 because we're using 7. So then that's 7 minus the 1, okay? So let's put all that in our solver, and I'm going to put it in exactly the way I typed it, okay? So let me circle that so you can see what we're entering here. Let's get that out of the way and just there we go. So you can see it clearly. Well, past my handwriting, of course. Okay, so let's push math, arrow up. Okay, clear out what we have. We want 43. Okay, then push enter. Now, remember, we're going to have to use x here. This is going to have to be x. Remember, we have to replace that. We're down to one variable, so we can just replace it with x, okay? So that means we have x. Oh, let me just clear that so so you can see what I'm doing. So x, then I'm going to say plus and then parentheses. and negative. Okay, alpha equals, we can use that here, 4 over the 5. Then I'm going to close my parentheses, open it back up, and now I have 7 minus 1, close it. All right, and that is exactly how we wrote it out. Double check my numbers, and let's say graph and graph again. And looks like we do not have a fractional value, but what we can say is it's probably option D. And 4 over 5 is 0.8. If you don't believe it, you can enter it. So let's go second mode, and that was 47.8. Let's enter it, push math, enter, enter again. Oh, goodness gracious, we are going to have to use our back and forth. Okay, so let's say alpha y equals number 4. Remember, number 4 goes fraction decimal. Now let's use number 3. I think number 3 is what we want. There we go. Perfect. Option D verified. Okay, this is the last question in this video. Thank you for watching and liking and subscribing us, and especially a shout out to everybody who has subscribed. You guys are the very best. And you know what? I'm rooting for you. Happy testing.